In the vast expanse of space where stars twinkled like diamonds scattered across an endless black canvas, there existed a civilization that had long dominated its corner of the galaxy. This was the Zarnok Collective, a race of beings whose technology and military might were unmatched in their region of space. For centuries, they had expanded their empire through sheer force, intimidation, and calculated aggression. Their armada consisted of thousands of warships, each one bristling with weapons capable of obliterating entire planets. They were conquerors, explorers, and destroyers all rolled into one. The Zarnak believed themselves to be the ultimate power in the universe. No other species had ever dared to challenge them. Entire civilizations had fallen under their shadow, either surrendering without a fight or being wiped out entirely. It wasn't arrogance, it was fact. Or so they thought. But deep down, even the most powerful empires have moments of doubt. And for the Zarnak, that moment came when something unexpected happened. It began on a routine patrol mission near the edge of their territory. A small fleet of reconnaissance vessels was sent to explore a cluster of uncharted star systems. These areas were often ignored because they seemed barren, no signs of life, no resources worth harvesting. But this time, something unusual caught their attention. Faint energy signatures pulsed faintly from one of the nearby systems. At first, the Zarnak dismissed it as cosmic radiation or some natural phenomenon. But as their sensors honed in on the source, they realized it was something far more intriguing and potentially dangerous. What they discovered left them stunned. Hovering silently in the void of space was a single massive vessel, unlike anything they'd ever seen before. Its design was sleek yet imposing, with sharp edges and glowing panels that gave it an almost organic appearance. The ship radiated an aura of raw power, as if it were alive and aware of its surroundings. To the Zarnak, it looked both beautiful and terrifying. They didn't know it yet, but this was humanity's first interstellar battleship, codenamed Erebus. Back on Earth, decades of research, innovation, and sacrifice had gone into creating this marvel of engineering. It was designed not just to explore the stars, but also to protect humanity from any potential threats lurking in the unknown reaches of space. Every inch of Erebus was packed with cutting-edge technology, adaptive armor plating that could repair itself, shields capable of deflecting even the most devastating attacks, and weapon systems so advanced they made traditional firearms look like toys. But why was Erebus here? That was part of a top-secret mission. Humanity had been quietly monitoring alien activity for years, using unmanned probes and satellites to gather data. When evidence suggested the presence of intelligent extraterrestrial life, the decision was made to send Erebus as a test case. Could humanity hold its own against a superior alien force? Was it ready to step onto the galactic stage? These questions weighed heavily on the minds of those who commanded the mission. As the Zarnak fleet approached cautiously, neither side knew what to expect. The aliens tried to communicate first, broadcasting a series of aggressive signals meant to assert dominance. This was standard protocol for them. They always started by showing strength, hoping to intimidate their opponents into submission. But to their surprise, the human ship responded differently. Instead of cowering or retaliating, it transmitted messages in multiple languages, including several alien dialects that had been deciphered during earlier deep space missions. The humans weren't trying to provoke a fight. They wanted to establish contact. Through carefully crafted transmissions, they introduced themselves as peaceful explorers seeking mutual understanding. However, the Zarnak interpreted this behavior as weakness. Accustomed to fear and obedience, they couldn't comprehend why anyone would respond to hostility with calmness. Suspicion grew among their ranks, and whispers of conspiracy spread like wildfire. Then came the incident that changed everything. One overzealous Zarnak commander, eager to prove his loyalty and valor, decided to act without waiting for orders. Ignoring protocol, he ordered his ships to fire upon Erebus, believing it to be an easy target. What followed was nothing short of astonishing. Every shot fired at the human battleship was either deflected harmlessly by its shields or absorbed by its adaptive armor. Not a single projectile managed to penetrate its defenses. Meanwhile, Erebus retaliated, not with overwhelming force, but with surgical precision. Its weapons targeted only the engines and weapon systems of the attacking ships, disabling them without causing any loss of life. The message was clear: humanity was prepared to defend itself, but preferred restraint over destruction. Within minutes, the skirmish ended, it leaving the Zarnok reeling in disbelief. How could such a small vessel possess technology far beyond their own? And why had it shown mercy instead of annihilating them outright? Back aboard their mothership, the Zarnok leadership struggled to make sense of what had just happened. Reports poured in from the surviving crew members, painting a picture of an adversary unlike any they had faced before. Some argued for immediate retaliation, proposing a full-scale assault to crush the human ship once and for all. Others, however, urged caution, pointing out the peculiar restraint shown during the brief engagement. Could this mysterious species truly pose a threat, or was it possible they sought peace? For now, the Zarnok chose to retreat and regroup, but little did they know. In this encounter was only the beginning of a journey that would challenge everything they believed about themselves and the universe. As Erebus floated silently in the void, its crew remained vigilant, knowing full well that the true test of humanity's place among the stars was still ahead. The aftermath of the first encounter between the Zarnok Collective and humanity's battleship, Erebus, left both sides shaken, but for very different reasons. For the Zarnok, it was a mix of confusion, fear, and anger. They had always prided themselves on being the most powerful force in their region of space. No one had ever stood up to them before, let alone outmatch them technologically. The idea that a single ship could withstand their attacks and then retaliate with such precision was almost incomprehensible. It challenged everything they believed about their dominance. On board Erebus, the mood was tense but controlled. The crew knew they had handled the situation well, disabling enemy ships without causing unnecessary casualties. But they also understood that this was just the beginning. First contact with an alien species is never simple, especially when misunderstandings can escalate into violence. The humans aboard Erebus were explorers at heart, not warriors. Their mission wasn't to conquer or destroy, it was to learn, connect, and protect Earth if needed. Still, they couldn't ignore the fact that their actions might have unintentionally provoked the Zarnok further. Back on the Zarnok mothership, chaos reigned. The Leadership Council convened an emergency meeting to discuss what had happened. The holographic projections of the battle played repeatedly, showing how every shot fired at Erebus had been deflected or absorbed. The humans' counterattack was equally baffling. Instead of obliterating the attacking ships, they had targeted only specific systems, engines, weapons, communications, leaving the crews alive but stranded. To the Zarnok, this level of restraint was unheard of. In their culture, mercy was seen as weakness, something to be exploited rather than respected. Debate raged among the council members. Some argued that the humans must be planning something bigger, a trap, perhaps, designed to lure the Zarnok into a false sense of security before launching a full-scale invasion. Others pointed out that the humans had shown no signs of aggression until provoked. Could it be possible that they genuinely sought peace? And this notion was met with skepticism. After all, why would a species capable of building such an advanced ship limit itself to defensive tactics? Surely they had ulterior motives. Amidst the arguing, one voice rose above the rest. A senior commander, known for his strategic brilliance, suggested a bold move. Send another message to the human ship. This time, it wouldn't be aggressive. Instead, it would express curiosity about their intentions. If they truly seek peace, he reasoned, then we owe it to ourselves to find out. If they are lying, we will uncover their deception soon enough. Reluctantly, the council agreed. A new transmission was sent, carefully worded to avoid provoking another attack. It asked questions about the humans' origins, their purpose in Zarnok space, and their goals moving forward. The tone was cautious but not hostile, a stark contrast to their earlier attempts at communication. On Erebus, the crew listened intently as the message came through. Translators worked quickly to decipher its meaning, piecing together the fragmented phrases and symbols. When the translation was complete, it became clear that the Zarnok were trying to understand who they were dealing with. For the humans, this was both encouraging and concerning. Encouraging because it showed a willingness to engage diplomatically. Concerning because any misstep could reignite hostilities. The response from Erebus was crafted with care. Every word was chosen to convey sincerity and openness while maintaining a firm stance. The humans explained that they were explorers from a distant planet called Earth. They described their journey across the stars, a ray driven by curiosity and a desire to connect with other intelligent species. They emphasized their commitment to peaceful coexistence, but made it clear that they would defend themselves if attacked again. When the Zarnok received this reply, reactions were mixed. Some saw it as proof that the humans were sincere in their intentions. Others remained suspicious, convinced that the message was a clever ploy to lower their guard. Tension simmered beneath the surface, waiting for the slightest spark to ignite them. That spark came sooner than anyone expected. One of the younger Zarnok commanders, eager to prove himself, decided to take matters into his own hands. Disregarding orders from the council, he gathered a small fleet and set course for Erebus. His plan was simple: launch a surprise attack and capture the human ship. He believed that studying its technology firsthand would give the Zarnok the edge they needed to maintain their supremacy. As the rogue fleet approached, sensors aboard Erebus detected their presence immediately. The crew sprang into action, preparing for the worst while hoping for the best. Defensive systems were activated and shields were raised to maximum capacity. At the same time, efforts were made to establish communication with the incoming ships. Messages were transmitted, urging them to stand down and avoid further conflict. But the rogue commander ignored these pleas, convinced that victory was within his grasp. The battle began with a barrage of energy blasts aimed directly at Erebus. Once again, the humans' advanced defenses proved impenetrable. Shields shimmered under the onslaught, absorbing blow after blow without faltering. Meanwhile, Erebus responded with devastating efficiency. Its weapons targeted only critical systems, disabling engines and weapon arrays while leaving life support intact. Within minutes, the rogue fleet was neutralized, its ships drifting helplessly in space. Despite their success, the crew of Erebus felt no sense of triumph. Each skirmish brought them closer to a point of no return, a full-blown war that neither side truly wanted. They had demonstrated their capabilities, but at what cost? Would the Zarnok see their restraint as strength or weakness? And more importantly, could trust ever be established between two vastly different civilizations? Back on the Zarnok mothership, news of the second defeat spread like wildfire. The rogue commander's failure was seen as a humiliation, and not just for him, but for the entire collective. Yet there was also a growing realization that brute force alone wouldn't work against the humans. Something about their approach, both in combat and in diplomacy, set them apart from any adversary the Zarnok had faced before. For the first time, whispers of doubt began to creep into the minds of the Zarnok leadership. Perhaps there was more to these humans than met the eye. Perhaps they weren't invaders or conquerors, but simply explorers trying to find their place in the galaxy. These thoughts were unsettling, challenging long-held beliefs about power, dominance, and survival. And so, as the dust settled from yet another failed attempt to subdue Erebus, the Zarnok found themselves at a crossroads. Would they continue down the path of aggression, risking everything in pursuit of victory? Or would they choose a different route, one paved with understanding, cooperation, and mutual respect? The answer lay somewhere in the stars waiting to be discovered. The tension between the Zarnak Collective and humanity's battleship, Erebus, had reached a tipping point. After two skirmishes, one initiated by the Zarnak and another by a rogue commander, the aliens were left grappling with questions they had never considered before. Who were these humans? Why did they show restraint instead of unleashing their full power? And most importantly, what did they truly want? These uncertainties gnawed at the Zarnak leadership, forcing them to rethink their approach. On board Erebus, the crew was equally reflective. They knew that every action they took carried weight, not just for themselves, but for all of humanity. And this wasn't just about defending Earth, it was about setting a precedent for how humans would interact with alien civilizations in the future. The choices they made here, in this distant corner of space, could shape the destiny of their species for generations to come. It was a heavy responsibility, but one they embraced with determination. Back on the Zarnak mothership, debates raged among the council members. Some argued that the humans posed too great a threat to be trusted. Others countered that their repeated displays of restraint suggested otherwise. One senior advisor, a veteran strategist known for his calm demeanor, proposed an idea that caught everyone off guard. "Why don't we meet them face to face?" he suggested. "Send a delegation aboard their ship. Let us see who they really are." At first, the idea seemed absurd. The Zarnak weren't accustomed to diplomacy, let alone stepping foot onto an enemy vessel. But as the council weighed their options, the proposal gained traction. If the humans truly sought peace, then a personal encounter might provide clarity, and if they were hiding something, the Zarnak delegation could gather valuable intelligence firsthand. After much deliberation, the council agreed to send a small team to Erebus. They chose individuals carefully, scientists, linguists, and diplomats who specialized in cross-species communication. Each member of the delegation was briefed extensively on what little they knew about the humans. Still, none of them could shake the feeling of unease as their shuttle departed from the mothership and headed toward the mysterious battleship. When the Zarnak shuttle docked with Erebus, the human crew greeted them with warmth and hospitality, an experience entirely foreign to the aliens. For the Zarnak, meetings with other species usually involved threats, demands, or outright hostility. But here, aboard Erebus, things were different. The humans welcomed them with open arms, offering refreshments and guiding them to a spacious conference room where discussions could take place. The atmosphere was tense at first. Both sides eyed each other warily, unsure of what to expect. The Zarnak delegation wore sleek, metallic armor, adorned with insignias denoting their rank and status. Their movements were stiff and formal, betraying years of military training. In contrast, the humans dressed in simple uniforms, exuding a relaxed confidence that put the visitors slightly at ease. Communication proved challenging at first, and while translators worked tirelessly to bridge the language gap, misunderstandings inevitably arose. Simple phrases like, "we mean no harm," or "we seek understanding," often got lost in translation, leading to moments of awkward silence. Yet despite these hurdles, both groups persevered. Slowly but surely, a dialogue began to form. The humans explained their origins, describing Earth as a planet teeming with life and diversity. They spoke of their history, not just the achievements, but also the struggles. Wars, famines, plagues, all had tested humanity's resilience. But through it all, people had found ways to unite, to build bridges instead of walls. These stories resonated deeply with the Zarnak, who had long believed themselves superior because of their technological prowess. When hearing about humanity's capacity for growth and adaptation gave them pause. In turn, the Zarnak shared tales of their own civilization. They described their home planet as harsh and unforgiving, with resources so scarce that survival required constant expansion. Over time, this necessity had evolved into a culture of conquest. To the Zarnak, strength was everything. Weakness was not tolerated, whether in individuals or entire species. This mindset had shaped their interactions with others, leading to countless conflicts and few alliances. As the conversations continued, common ground began to emerge. Both sides realized that their quest for survival, though vastly different in execution, stemmed from similar desires: safety, prosperity, and a better future for their people. These shared values became the foundation upon which trust started to grow. To further solidify this newfound connection, the humans invited the Zarnak delegation to tour Erebus. The aliens were awestruck by what they saw. The ship's interior was a marvel of engineering, blending functionality with aesthetics in ways the Zarnan had never imagined. Holographic displays showcased star maps, scientific data, and even works of art created by human hands. Laboratories buzzed with activity as researchers conducted experiments in fields ranging from biology to astrophysics. One particular area fascinated the Zarnak: the engine room. Here they witnessed the heart of Erebus, a massive reactor humming with energy. The humans explained how this system powered not only the ship's defenses, but also its life support systems, to ensuring the well-being of everyone on board. For the Zarnak, whose vessels prioritized weaponry over comfort, this balance between utility and compassion was eye-opening. Throughout the visit, the humans emphasized their commitment to peaceful exploration. They showed the Zarnak examples of technologies developed specifically for non-lethal purposes: tools designed to heal rather than harm, devices capable of terraforming barren worlds into habitable environments. These innovations sparked curiosity among the delegation, planting seeds of inspiration that would later blossom into collaboration. By the time the Zarnak prepared to return to their mothership, a subtle shift had occurred. What had begun as a cautious exchange had transformed into something more meaningful. Trust, though fragile, had taken root. Both sides recognized that while their differences were vast, their potential for cooperation was even greater. Back aboard the mothership, the delegation reported their findings to the council. At first, skepticism reigned. Many council members struggled to accept that the humans might genuinely seek peace. But as the delegation recounted their experiences, their insights into human culture, their observations of Erebus's capabilities, and their belief in the possibility of mutual benefit, doubts began to fade. For the first time in their history, the Zarnak Collective considered the idea of coexistence. It was a radical concept, one that challenged centuries of tradition. Yet it was also undeniably appealing. By working together, they could achieve things neither side could accomplish alone: scientific breakthroughs, resource sharing, or joint expeditions into uncharted space. All of these possibilities loomed on the horizon, waiting to be explored. And so as the Zarnak leadership mulled over their next steps, a quiet revolution unfolded within their ranks. Ideas once dismissed as naive or impractical now seemed worth pursuing. Change, though slow and uncertain, was underway. Meanwhile, aboard Erebus, the human crew celebrated a hard-won victory, not of weapons or tactics, but of hearts and minds. This glimmer of understanding marked the beginning of a new chapter for both species. Neither side knew what challenges lay ahead, but one thing was certain: they were no longer strangers. Together, they stood on the brink of something extraordinary, a partnership forged not out of fear, but out of hope. The fragile bond between the Zarnak Collective and humanity's battleship in Erebus continued to grow stronger with each passing day. What had started as cautious diplomacy was now blossoming into something more profound, a genuine effort to understand one another. Both sides recognized that this wasn't just about avoiding conflict. It was about building a relationship based on mutual respect and shared goals. And so, aboard Erebus, a new chapter began, one filled with collaboration, discovery, and moments of unexpected connection. After the initial delegation returned to their mothership, the Zarnak leadership made a bold decision. They agreed to send a larger team to work alongside the human crew for an extended period. This group included scientists, engineers, and cultural experts, all eager to learn from their hosts. For the humans, this was both an honor and a challenge. Hosting representatives from an alien species required careful planning and constant communication, but they were determined to make it work, knowing how much was at stake. When the Zarnak arrived, they were greeted warmly by the crew of Erebus. The humans went out of their way to make their guests feel welcome, offering them quarters designed to mimic the conditions of their home planet. Temperature controls, lighting adjustments, and even dietary accommodations were tailored to suit the aliens' needs. These small gestures spoke volumes, showing the Zarnak that the humans truly cared about their comfort and well-being. As the days turned into weeks, the two groups began working together in earnest. Joint scientific experiments became a cornerstone of their collaboration. In the labs of Erebus, the human and Zarnak researchers pooled their knowledge, combining technologies and methodologies to tackle problems neither side could solve alone. One breakthrough came when they merged Earth's advancements in sustainable energy with the Zarnak's expertise in propulsion systems. The result was a revolutionary engine design capable of faster-than-light travel without draining precious resources, a game-changer for interstellar exploration. But it wasn't just science that brought them closer. Cultural exchanges played a vital role in bridging the gap between their worlds. The humans organized events to share aspects of their culture, music, art, storytelling, all translated through visual aids and universal symbols. At first, the Zarnak found these displays puzzling. Their own society placed little value on creativity or self-expression, focusing instead on efficiency and survival. Yet as they watched the humans perform songs or create intricate paintings, something stirred within them. They began to see beauty in imperfection, joy in spontaneity, and strength in vulnerability. In return, the Zarnak shared glimpses of their own heritage. Through holographic projections, they showcased the harsh landscapes of their home planet and explained how its challenges had shaped their civilization. They told stories of resilience, describing how their ancestors had fought against famine, disease, and natural disasters to carve out a future for their people. These narratives struck a chord with the humans, who saw parallels in their own history. Despite their differences, both species had faced adversity and triumphed. One particularly memorable moment occurred during a shared meal. Many of the humans had prepared a feast featuring dishes from various cultures across Earth, adapting ingredients to suit the Zarnak's physiology. As they ate together, laughter erupted over misunderstandings caused by language barriers. A simple gesture like raising a glass in celebration led to confusion when the Zarnak mimicked it awkwardly, holding their utensils upside down. Instead of embarrassment, the situation dissolved into light-hearted camaraderie. It was a reminder that humor transcends boundaries, uniting even the most unlikely companions. Over time, friendships began to form. Bonds forged in the lab carried over into personal interactions, creating a sense of camaraderie that neither side had anticipated. Humans and Zarnak alike discovered common interests, whether it was solving complex equations, debating philosophical questions, or simply enjoying quiet moments gazing at the stars. These connections proved invaluable, laying the groundwork for deeper trust and understanding. Yet not everything was smooth sailing. Misunderstandings still arose, often stemming from fundamental differences in perspective. For example, the Zarnak struggled to grasp the concept of altruism, the idea of helping others without expecting anything in return. In their culture, every action had a purpose, usually tied to survival or gain. To them, the human's willingness to assist without immediate benefit seemed illogical, even reckless. Conversely, the humans sometimes found the Zarnak's rigid hierarchy frustrating. Decisions that should have been straightforward often required layers of approval, slowing progress and testing patience. Despite these challenges, Both sides remained committed to making the partnership work. Open dialogue became key to resolving conflicts. When tensions flared, leaders from both groups would convene to address issues head-on. These discussions weren't always easy, but they fostered transparency and accountability. Over time, the humans in Zarnok learned to navigate their differences, finding compromises that respected each other's values while advancing their shared mission. Perhaps the most significant development came when the Zarnok proposed a joint project aimed at improving life on their home planet. Using technology adapted from Earth's environmental restoration programs, they hoped to transform barren regions into fertile landscapes capable of sustaining agriculture. The humans enthusiastically supported the initiative, while providing guidance and resources to ensure its success. Together, they launched drones equipped with terraforming tools, seeding the soil with microorganisms engineered to revitalize ecosystems. Within months, the first signs of greenery appeared, a testament to what could be achieved through unity. This achievement marked a turning point in their relationship. No longer were they merely allies bound by necessity. They had become partners invested in each other's futures. The Zarnok leadership officially declared Erebus a symbol of peace, vowing to protect it as if it were their own. In response, the human crew extended an invitation for the Zarnok to visit Earth someday, a gesture that left many aliens deeply moved. Though such a journey would require years of preparation, the mere possibility ignited hope among the Zarnok populace. If for the first time in generations, they dared to dream of a brighter tomorrow. As the weeks stretched into months, the crew of Erebus reflected on how far they had come. What had begun as a tense standoff had evolved into a transformative alliance. Through patience, perseverance, and a shared vision for the future, they had bridged the divide between two vastly different civilizations. But even as they celebrated their progress, they knew that greater challenges lay ahead. Space was vast and unpredictable, and not all encounters would end as peacefully as this one. Still, there was no denying the impact of what they had accomplished. By choosing understanding over fear, cooperation over conflict, they had proven that even the unlikeliest of friendships could flourish under the right circumstances. And as Erebus, just as the bond between humanity's battleship, Erebus, and the Zarnok Collective reached new heights, an ominous signal echoed across the stars, a distress call that would test their fledgling alliance in ways neither side could have anticipated. The message came from deep within Zarnok territory, transmitted by a faction of rogue Zarnok who had long opposed any form of cooperation with outsiders. These rebels, embittered by the leadership's decision to seek peace with humans, had forged an unholy alliance with a predatory species notorious for enslaving weaker civilizations. Together, they planned to invade Earth and seize control of its resources, viewing humanity as a threat to their dominance. When the distress signal reached Erebus, it was accompanied by fragmented data, images of massive fleets amassing near the edge of Zarnok space, coordinates pointing toward Earth, and chilling warnings about the invaders' intentions. The human crew immediately convened an emergency meeting, analyzing every detail to assess the threat. Meanwhile, the Zarnok delegation aboard Erebus listened intently, their expressions grim. They recognized the insignia of the rogue faction, a splinter group that had always resisted centralized authority. But what shocked them most was the involvement of the predatory species known as the Krill. The Krill were infamous throughout the galaxy for their ruthlessness. Entire civilizations had fallen under their control, stripped of their freedom, and reduced to servitude. Their technology rivaled even the Zarnoks, and their numbers were vast. If the rogue Zarnok had allied themselves with the Krill, it meant only one thing: they were preparing for total war. For the humans, this revelation was both terrifying and sobering. Earth was still decades away from building another ship like Erebus. A full-scale invasion would leave their home planet defenseless. Yet instead of succumbing to panic, the crew sprang into action. Every system aboard Erebus was optimized for maximum efficiency. Weapons were recalibrated, shields reinforced, and engines pushed to their limits. At the same time, the Zarnak delegation worked tirelessly to rally support from their own people. Messages were sent to the mothership, urging the collective to unite against this existential threat. To everyone's relief, the Zarnak leadership responded swiftly. Recognizing the gravity of the situation, they declared the rogue faction and their Krill allies enemies of the state. Ships from across the Empire converged on the assembly point, forming a massive fleet ready to stand alongside Erebus. For the first time in their history, the Zarnak put aside internal divisions to face a common foe. It was a monumental shift, one made possible by the trust and understanding forged during their time with the humans. As the combined fleet prepared for battle, strategists from both sides collaborated to devise a plan. The humans brought innovative tactics honed through simulations and theoretical studies, while the Zarnak contributed centuries of combat experience. Together, they created a strategy that played to each other's strengths. Erebus would serve as the flagship, coordinating attacks and providing cover fire with its superior weaponry. And the Zarnak ships, though less advanced individually, outnumbered the enemy and excelled in coordinated assaults. By working together, they hoped to overwhelm the invaders before they could reach Earth. The day of reckoning arrived sooner than expected. Scouting drones detected the approaching Armada, a sprawling mass of ships stretching beyond the horizon. The sight was daunting, but there was no time for hesitation. As the enemy fleet entered firing range, Erebus led the charge, flanked by waves of Zarnak vessels. The battle that followed was chaotic and intense, testing every ounce of courage and ingenuity possessed by both sides. From the outset, Erebus proved its worth. Its weapon systems targeted key enemy ships with pinpoint accuracy, disabling command centers and severing communication lines. Shields shimmered under relentless barrages, holding firm even as energy blasts rained down. Meanwhile, the Zarnak fleet executed maneuvers perfected over generations, weaving through enemy formations and striking vulnerable points. Their sheer numbers allowed them to absorb heavy losses without breaking ranks, a testament to their unwavering resolve. Yet despite their best efforts, the tide of battle began to turn against them. The Krill deployed devastating weapons unlike anything the humans or Zarnak had encountered before. Massive beams of energy tore through space, obliterating entire squadrons in seconds. Panic threatened to spread among the Allied forces, but then something remarkable happened. Aboard Erebus, the crew activated a secret weapon developed during their collaboration with the Zarnak, a hybrid device combining human ingenuity with alien engineering. Dubbed the Nova Pulse, it emitted a concentrated burst of electromagnetic energy capable of disabling entire fleets at once. The downside? It required immense power, leaving Erebus temporarily vulnerable after activation. Knowing the risks, the crew made the call. With a deafening roar, the Nova Pulse surged to life, engulfing the battlefield in blinding light. When the glare faded, hundreds of enemy ships lay dead in space, their systems fried beyond repair. The sudden reversal stunned the invaders, giving the Allied fleet the opening they needed. Seizing the opportunity, the Zarnak launched a furious counterattack, pushing the remaining enemy ships back toward their own lines. The Erebus, though weakened, provided critical support, targeting stragglers and preventing reinforcements from joining the fray. Slowly but surely, the tide turned in their favor. By the time the dust settled, the invaders had been routed. The rogue Zarnak faction was decimated, their leaders captured or killed. The Krill, realizing their advantage had evaporated, retreated into the depths of space, vowing revenge but unwilling to risk further losses. Victory belonged to the Alliance, a hard-fought triumph born of unity and sacrifice. In the aftermath, celebrations erupted aboard Erebus and throughout the Zarnak fleet. Cheers rang out as crews embraced one another, sharing stories of bravery and camaraderie. For the humans, it was proof that their mission of peaceful exploration could coexist with the need for defense. For the Zarnok, it was validation of their decision to embrace change and forge new alliances. Together, they had faced an impossible challenge and emerged stronger for it. But the victory carried deeper significance. It marked the beginning of a new era, not just for the Zarnok and humanity, but for the galaxy as a whole. Word of their alliance spread quickly, inspiring other species to reconsider old rivalries and seek partnerships based on mutual benefit. Diplomatic envoys arrived from distant star systems, eager to learn from the example set by Erebus and the Zarnok Collective. Back on Earth, news of the battle sparked awe and pride. People marveled at the achievements of their interstellar pioneers, hailing them as heroes who had defended not just their planet, but the principles of cooperation and hope. Though governments pledged increased funding for space exploration, recognizing its potential to unite humanity in pursuit of a brighter future. As for Erebus, its journey was far from over. With the immediate threat neutralized, the crew set course for uncharted regions of space, driven by curiosity and a renewed sense of purpose. Alongside their Zarnok allies, they continued to explore, discover, and build bridges between worlds. Each step forward reinforced the belief that no challenge was insurmountable when faced together. And so, what had begun as a chance encounter between two vastly different civilizations transformed into a testament to the power of understanding, resilience, and unity. In the vast expanse of the cosmos, where darkness often seemed overwhelming, and the alliance between humanity and the Zarnok shone like a beacon, a reminder that even in the face of great danger, hope could prevail. Together, they stood ready to protect not just their own, but the wider galaxy from whatever dangers lurked among the stars.